Light Talk. Lumen Brothers. Light Talk. Light Talk. Light Talk. Lumen Brothers. Light Talk.
Hello and welcome to Light Talk. This is Stan, and I'm broadcasting from my state-of-the-art studio in the swamps of Gainesville, Florida.
Hi, this is Steve in Dallas, Texas.
And this is David in Long Beach, California. And we are the Lumen Brothers.
We're back, just the three of us.
Hey guys, was that interview with Neil Giampoulos great or what?
That's pretty good.
Absolutely.
That was really a lot of fun. It was great to relive. I feel like one of those old guys. It's like, hey, remember back in 1904?
Yeah. I keep picturing him in the Porsche and the beaver coat and the glasses and the Brooklyn hat driving around L.A. and just waving at people.
Yeah, and his little doggy.
And the dog. That was pretty great to get him on tape. That was really good.
I can't wait to see his car, actually. He's coming over on Tuesday. So
oh, lucky you.
We're gonna have lunch together. It would be a lot of fun.
Nice. Black on black, he said. It's a black on black box.
He said it looks like the Batmobile.
The Batmobile. The
Yeah,
old Boxsters do look a little bit like a Batmobile.
Yeah. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But he's always been like that. He's a really, he's so young at heart. And,
He's got style.
He's got style. Everything's matter of fact. It's like, so Neil, so you want me to check these 7 crates in as extra baggage? Isn't that going to cost a lot of money? And Neil hands me like $6,000 in cash and said, "This will cover it." I felt like I was in a mafia movie or something like that.
I was always wondered how Production Arts got the exclusive for Pani projectors.
That was a great story.
And now I know. I knew we did because when I was working there we were, but I never knew why and how. And now we know.
The only problem is that we know, but our listeners don't know because I cut that part out of the episode.
You did?
Yes.
Oh,
you should listen to these episodes better. These edits better.
I did listen to. Why did you cut that out? Oh well,
time.
And we're gonna cut this part out too.
That's right. Exactly.
I might as well just hang it up.
I'm sorry. Anyway, so hey, let's get started. Stan, you have the first question.
So Kathy in Ohio asks, "How do I know if a bulb is going to die? And why do bulbs explode?" Well, how do you know a bulb is going to die? Is because they all die, just like us. That's going to happen. Let's start with incandescent bulbs, lamps, okay, which I think is what she's probably talking about. So, and let's just say that, let's talk a little bit about lamp life, which the manufacturer gives you on an incandescent lamp. And not everybody knows how they determine lamp life because they give them a lifespan.
It's
and
bogus.
The way they do. Yeah, you want to say something?
No, it's bogus.
No, it's not. Here's how they do it. What they do is they take a lot of lamps, a certain number, 100, 1,000, 500, whatever number that they determine, and they turn them all on at the same time, and they let them burn, and they start the clock. And when half of them have burned out, it's an average. They consider that half of the lamps have died, that will be the lamp life, which means that some of them will last twice as long as the lamp life, and some of them will last half as long of the lamp life. And why do they die? Well, if it's tungsten halogen, they last a lot longer than what we had before tungsten halogen because of the tungsten halogen cycle, which most people know that by using a quartz envelope or a quartz container, the tungsten particles, atoms, burn off the filament, float around in the heated halogen gas, and when the halogen gas cools off, when the lamp is turned off, the tungsten atoms redeposit themselves back on the tungsten filament, but they don't redeposit themselves in a uniform way. So some areas of the filament are fatter, some areas are thinner. Those thinner areas burn hotter, and then eventually that thinner part of the wire gives way, and burns up, and the circuit is broken, and the lamp burns out. Now she's asking, how do you know? Well, if that thinner part of the filament is burning hotter, it tends to get extremely bright right before it fails. So that's one way. She asks about explosion. The explosions tend to happen, which is why tungsten halogen need to be in some kind of housing that protects people from the cracked quartz that might go flying around. If you touch the envelope of the lamp, the oil on your fingers gets on the quartz. When the halogen gas heats up to the high temperature, the oil boils on the quartz, and that boiling process can rupture and affect the quartz, and then you get a weak area in the glass, and then it can explode. That's what I was taught. That's what I know about the tungsten lamps. Maybe you guys want to jump on some other types of light sources like arc lamps, discharge lamps, or solid state devices. But in terms of incandescent, that's what I know.
That was a very brief and actually concise way of explaining lamp life.
I tried to do it concisely.
You did it. It was very nice. But you left out one very important thing. And this is why I was saying it was bogus. Because the part you left out is that when they test these lamps for lamp life, they are done in environmentally perfect laboratories.
True.
All right? So they regulate the temperature at the perfect temperature for these lamps to actually live as long as possible.
It's a laboratory environment.
They turn them on once. They don't turn them off. So every time you turn a lamp on and off, you're going to lose some lamp life.
True.
Because of voltage surges.
True.
You don't have like Uncle Harry knocking over the light in the living room, and then like, oh, the lamp didn't blow, but I guarantee that lamp has been damaged and will probably blow earlier. And what I had learned about why they actually burn out as far as touching them is concerned is that when a tungsten halogen lamp and the filament burns, actually some of the tungsten actually escapes and tries to move toward the envelope. And the oil in your hand actually attracts the tungsten onto the envelope. The gas in there, part of its usefulness is to keep the tungsten, concentrated on that filament. But if there's oil, it will attract the tungsten onto the envelope. The envelope will get hot, and then it will burst.
What you're talking about there, David, would be called a temperature differential.
Wow.
Wow.
No, I mean, the oil causes a temperature differential between the interior and the exterior of the lamp.
Makes complete sense. Wow, the Lumen Brothers are smart.
No, it's just early in the morning, and our brains aren't dead yet.
But her real the zoning on her question was, how do you know if it's going to die?
Yeah, if it's going to die, it's like Stan said, it's going to get real bright, or it just may not turn on anymore.
Supernova.
Okay, so let's move on to our next light source, and that is the arc lamp. There are two ways you know when an arc lamp's going to die. Now, first of all, you get these...
I thought they just fade away.
Sometimes, well, not really. Usually, a lot of arc lamps, they have lamp lives of like 200 hours. But to this day, I have never seen an arc lamp burn that long. Because what happens as it travels through its lifespan, like human beings, especially old men like us, that the color changes. I was told the other day, actually it was yesterday, that I looked rather ashen. And I think it's because I may be getting old. So
your color temperature is shifting, David.
My color temperature has shifted, which means that soon, it's the end is near because I'm turning colors.
If your toes are curling up, it's true.
But that's what happens with an arc fixture, is that the actual color temperature will change. Now, what does it change to? Guys, you remember what happens with the color temperature?
Is this a test?
It usually, for some reason, gets warmer.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, that's what I like on HMIs. What I've read, and Steve might know because he does a lot of film, that the Kelvin temperature drops about 1 degree per hour.
Right, something like that, yeah. So it actually turns warmer, which is not great when it comes to consistent color. So one thing that I always do is that whenever I get a rental package in, I always ask, make sure there are new lamps in all these lights. That's always specified to the shop. Whether the shop does it or not, it's a whole other thing.
No, it's a good point. It's a good point you're making. In architecture, they recommend, let's say Walmart has discharge lamps throughout those big box stores, and the IES recommends that you replace all the lamps at one time on an interval, so like every 6 months or every 8 months, so you have a consistent light distribution and color temperature throughout the store. For those, say, you wouldn't want, like, if you just change them haphazardly when one gets bad, you have inconsistent lighting. So makes sense, David, that you would ask for all the lamps to be fresh.
Yeah, but apparently that doesn't work, because have you been to a Walmart lately? And have you looked at the lights?
Actually, the ones that follow the recommendations, you can walk in and go, wow, all of a sudden the store looks bright and beautiful again.
Right.
And then in stores where they don't follow that recommendation,
That's right.
and they just change them haphazardly, they look bad. So it's a question of following the IES recommendations.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I went under the knife a couple weeks ago to get oral surgery, and I'm lying in the operating area, and the nurse was really nice. And as she was putting me under, she asked, she said, "So you're a lighting designer, right?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "What can I do about the lights in here?"
I had a similar conversation with my retinal surgeon this week.
And I was saying, well, first of all, you got to find the right color temperature, I mean, a consistent one,
Right.
And then I went under, and I probably said some terrible things while I was under. However, getting back to lamp life, so it usually gets warmer, the arc lamp, and so you better change that lamp out, and that's what I do. When I start seeing this, I will give a note to the electrician. I said, please change out the lamp, replace the lamp.
Well, okay, back to her question, how do you know when see, like we used to say, like a mercury vapor, people would say they don't really die, they just fade away. But how do you know when an arc is dead or is going to die?
You've got T-minus like 5 minutes when it starts to flicker. And the arc lamp, in its end of its life, or if there's a fault in it, it will start flickering. It'll start strobing. And first it'll be very, very subtle, like, and like maybe only you could see it because you're trained to see it. But then after a while, it's just annoying. And that is when that light is going to fail. And it will fail rather dramatically, or it may not just turn on. The next time it may turn it off, and the next time it just doesn't turn on, right? But sometimes it will blow up.
Is it because the electrodes and the anodes they're burning up, so it can't make the gap? The spark can't get across the gap? Is that what's happening?
Are you asking me about anodes?
Anodes and electrodes, that's what's in the arc lamp.
I have no idea why this happens.
Let Steve talk. Come on, Steve.
Kathy could care less. She's down at the local school. She bought some lights, and she's wondering when the bulb was going to go. Who knows? Who knows about an LED? They say it's 50,000 hours. Who's tested it?
Oh, I have some info.
What's your info, David?
Well, I actually just wrote an article on LED lamp life, and I was talking to an LED engineer at ETC last week about it. I actually did research, which is, I'm sure, impressing you guys. And LEDs, unlike arc lamps and unlike incandescent lamps, never really burn out. They just get dimmer.
Right.
And so they were trying to figure out a consistent way, a standard to judge when an LED has reached its useful end of life, end of its useful life, right? And they came up with, Stan?
LM70, which is the document from Illuminating Engineers Society of North America, who study this stuff and put out guidelines about that, and they show all that stuff in graphs and numbers, and it's interesting to read if you like that kind of stuff. And so there is a way of determining that, and that's how they're sort of determining their warranties. It's very difficult to get a warranty, which ETC has just dipped their toe into, on LED products.
This is bumpkus. This is total bumpkus.
I understand what you're saying, Steve, but just so that our listeners know, specifically what LM70 means is that when a LED reaches 70% of its original intensity, that is the LM70 time. That is the lifespan of the light. Yep. So what the people at ETC were telling me was that they do some very sophisticated tests on their LEDs, which, by the way, I also found out that they get most, if not all, their LEDs from.
I think Philips Luxion, is it not?
Actually, from the United States of America.
Yes, they're American.
All right, and I know that they get a lot of them from Cree, which I believe is on the East
Oh,
Coast.
yeah, you're right. The Cree
And then-
X series.
Yeah. But anyway, getting back, I don't know why I went off on that. When the light reaches 70% of its useful
Original
life,
output.
of its original output, that's the end of its life. Which, after their testing, they realized that their lights, their LEDs, actually lasted a lot longer than they thought, which is why they now have a 10-year warranty on all their LED light engines, that it would have consistent color. Because if you think about it, just think about it for a second. If an LED's LM70 lifespan is 30,000 hours, if you run that light 24/7 at full, that's quite a few years. So it goes way over, if you're doing this just like a stage light, which is only running maybe a couple of hours a day, and a lot of times, not at full intensity, those LED engines are going to outlast your stay at this place. and then by that time, you'll be replacing your fixtures because they'll be obsolete. Okay, now, Steve, tell us why this is all bumpkus.
Because you work at a university and you're cheap. You will never replace that light as long as that sucker comes on. It could be putting out 5%, and the dean will say it looks good to me.
It's an interesting point Steve is making because when you think about how bright, like when I think about my solar theaters and how bright they are, if they're operating at 70% of original brightness, it's still going to be a
let's just go back to
light.
Walmart for a second. Oh yeah, the manager walks through the store and says, "I need to spend, I don't know, $15,000 today to replace all the lights that are working perfectly except number 7 over in the toy aisle." No, they're going to they don't care what the IES says. They're going to make those suckers work.
No, that's not necessarily true because they are aware. I'll push back with you a little bit there, Steve. They are aware about how customers view products. There's a lot of information and important stuff about how people respond to products relative to light and how they can see colors and how well they can see the information. So, there are probably some guys who won't, but actually it's corporate that makes those decisions, and it ends up costing them more money going up and changing one lamp at a time and bringing in the scaffold and hiring. It's not necessarily, I wouldn't be so sure about that.
Okay.
Silence. Crickets.
I don't know. I agree with both of you. But all I can say is my own personal experience of walking into Walmart is that the lighting sucks. The lighting totally sucks. I see 3 or 4 different colors of lights of lamps in there, and I don't know if they're putting the wrong lamps in. I don't know. If
I'm not saying they all
do.
do that, but and Walmart's just one example of stores that some have light maintenance programs and some don't. Yeah. And you're right. It depends upon how cheap or caring the ownership is.
All right, I got to tell a quick story. Then we're going to move on. I went to see a Broadway show. Stan and I had this huge argument this week about Broadway, but this was years ago. It was a musical, and it was lit by a friend of mine. I won't say what the name was.
We are really off topic now, aren't we?
No, because it has to do with maintenance.
I see. Okay.
Right? And I'm watching, and it's terrible. I mean, the lighting is awful. I mean, there's like a gobo on one side that's totally out of focus. There's one on the right that's like perfectly focused, but it's tilted down. All the colors washed out. I couldn't believe how awful the lighting was. And I was like thinking, wow, what the hell's going on? And I turned around, I looked at the balcony rail, and every single fixture on the balcony rail, the color had a giant hole in it.
Wow.
It was burned out.
Wow.
So I saw this design the next day, and I said, what's going on? They're not maintaining your show. He said, exactly. They will not spend the money to maintain the show.
Wow, that's sad.
So that's talk about maintenance, and people are paying $400 a ticket to see Hamilton. I'm sorry. Okay, I will get off on that, Jag. Steve has the next question.
Okay, we have Ted in Mississippi writes, I need some help choosing a new console for my school. I have 60 lights and 6 movers. We do 4 shows over the school year. Ted, easy answer. You want a Hedgehog. You want to call up ETC and high-end and get yourself a Hedgehog 4. That is the perfect console for you. It is small, it's lightweight, it's compact, it's going to fit in your booth. You can move it out to the auditorium. You can go to their website and take a look at all the features on it. But the reason I like it, the software is extremely stable, and it comes with visualization software. So you can use Light Converse. So it's an easy console to learn, and you can use it as a teaching tool because you can simply put your theater inside that console and say, hey guys, today we're lighting, I don't know, the first scene from Streetcar Named Desire. And here's a virtual set I put in there. There's a virtual light rig. So it's a really great teaching tool, and it's a really great price. So I would recommend a Hedgehog.
I want to second that suggestion on the Hedgehog. We got one a couple of years ago that didn't have the graphic outputs, and now I might just put a plug in for high end here. Is that we had the old style Hedgehog that didn't have display outputs, and we talked to them about that, and they are upgrading us as a courtesy. It was so nice. We really love it. We love it with the external monitors. We do like Light Converse a lot. It's easy to learn. Everything Steve said is true. We're really, really happy with it. So I really would agree completely with that suggestion.
Yeah, I think a lot has to do also with how much money you have. To spend. A Hedgehog is a very reasonable board, but there are other boards out there too that will fit the bill.
Well, the good thing about the Hedgehog there is his lighting rig. He has he has a modest lighting rig.
Right.
It only needs one universe of control.
Yeah.
But as he expands, the Hedgehog will expand up to 4 universes. So he's never going to outgrow that console.
Yeah. Are you saying so he would end up getting a 4X, right, Steve?
He'd get I would.
Yeah. I think
he doesn't need it. He could always upgrade to it. I mean,
right.
He right now, even with 2 universes,
he's fine.
It's unlikely, given his inventory. Even if he tripled his inventory, he's not going to outgrow the console.
You know what I learned too is that's the outputs from the console, and you can actually here's something that's really nice about it. We have some old programming wings and fader wings that we have plugged into our Hedgehog, and we have a single universe and a 4 universe DP8000, so we can go up to 8 universes if we needed to on that Hedgehog with those accessories. So it's a beautiful. We're really happy with ours too.
I don't think there's anything similar out there. I mean, he's got an internal touchscreen monitor. He's got 4 encoders on the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
There are 12 user keys. There are 10 playback faders.
Yep.
It uses ArtNet, as I remember. It's got 2 USB ports.
ArtNet and FixtureNet. Yeah.
It's a great console.
Well, they could also go with a MAPC. The MAPC is a very reasonably priced board. It has encoders, the front end, all that stuff.
There's a major problem with the MAPC. It doesn't have a suck button.
Yeah, that's true. It doesn't suck. Anyway, our next question is from our Lumen sister.
Ah, yes.
Remember?
Yes.
Our Lumen sister,
Annie.
Ann McMills. We love Ann McMills. And she writes, Dear brothers, what's the best material for a psych? My university is looking at purchasing one. We need the possibility of lighting it both from the front or the back.
Yeah.
First, I immediately said, what you need is an RP screen. That's what I use all the time. Except, if they need to light it from the front, an RP screen is not the best choice. So, I don't know. I mean, I always love filled scrims.
Yeah, I have that would be, I don't know what the best choice is because that's going to be contextually specific to what you're doing, but I have a favorite. And David, there used to be this beautiful thing that Roscoe made called Twin White, which did a nice job front and back. So I think there might be some stuff at Gerreits that has some material that would work as a RP and diffuse the hotspot and work as a front side. But my favorite is, like you said, a filled scrim. But I would say specifically the Lino filled scrim, and I tend to favor the one from Gerreits as opposed to the ones from Rosebrand. I've used both. The Gerreits seems to be thicker, more robust, has a thicker backing, and works really, really well. But if you were going to put a projector back there and had it perpendicular to it, I think you still see a hot spot, so it won't diffuse that like an RP screen will. But I think for me, the Lino filled scrims, Tungsten, I think it's called Tungsten Lino filled scrim from Gerreits is my favorite.
From Tungsten and Isolde.
Yes. No. Yes. No.
Yeah. Well, and then I was, of course, thinking about DarkNet, which is the new Rosebrand material, which I absolutely adore.
It wouldn't work as a psych, would it?
It wouldn't work necessarily as a psych, but boy, would it be nice to have hanging in front of the psych.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Because then what you could do, okay, I just came up with the answer. It's fantastic. Okay, here it is. Here it is, Anne. From one brother to one sister, you have an RP screen, right? So you can backlight to your heart's content, and you don't see the sources. And it's this beautiful, smooth, mix of light. And hanging in front of it, you have black DarkNet, like the open weave DarkNet. And then you could light the DarkNet from the front and the RP screen from the back, and there's your beautiful setup.
You are assuming that Anne has like boatloads of money.
She does. She works at a California State University system. We were talking about this last week.
What have you
about
told
how
us
much
about
money
that
we have.
system the other day?
You know what we use as a psych in one of our theaters? The back wall. But
we use ours all the time. It has pipes and all kinds of gas.
Oh, well, yeah, that's great. Except we use it for a flat psych. Well, to be quite honest, it's actually quite beautiful because it's all plaster.
I want to hear Steve. I want to hear Steve's opinion. He's so quiet over there.
Oh, is it my turn?
Please, please.
No, I agree with David. I don't think it's boatloads of money. We have a couple of different types of scrims. The filled scrim, of course, is great. We have an RP screen. I hadn't considered the idea of putting the DarkNet in front of it, but that's something I'm going to explore now.
Yeah, because it serves as a black scrim, so you can go black, and it will also reflect light. Now you just have to be really careful how you light it up there.
Yeah.
But we're always careful anyway. So there you go. So Ann, I hope that helped you.
Yeah. You are listening to Light Talk with the Lumen Brothers. And Light Talk this week is sponsored by...
From south of the border, it's Bad Hombre Stage Productions. Have you lost the bragging rights to the brightest flashlight on the crew call? Well, no worries. Bad Hombre Stage Productions can hook you up, my friend, with La Luz de la Muerte. That's right, the flashlight of death. Producing 4,100 lumens of light, you can fry an egg, melt a plastic flamenco, or blind the uprigger and watch him fall. But don't worry, he's wearing the You Will Almost Never Die safety harness. La Luz de la Muerte. Made with military-grade aluminum, heat-resistant lens, and 12 power settings, La Luz de la Muerte. Will be the envy of all of your socially challenged stagehand friends. Not only that, with a power supply of 4 lithium-ion batteries, La Luz de la Muerte will double as a taser, mosquito zapper, and chick magnet. La Luz de la Muerte. Only from Bad Hombre Stage Productions. Order today and we'll throw in a La Luce Libre de Brazo Family Edition.
Oh, let me see if I can say that. La Luz de la Muerte. No.
It just reminds me of a Breaking Bad episode,
The sad thing about this, this is a real flashlight.
Is it?
Really?
Is it really called
Yes.
that?
No, it's. I found it online. They actually say you can fry an egg with it, or kill an ant. Only $200, and you can buy one. Yeah, it has a 40-minute lamp life. Battery life.
Speaking of lamp lives,
That's funny. And now back to Light Talk.
So Steve, I hear that you have some industry news about a portfolio review that some of my students are attending. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, we're in the 17th year of Design Showcase East. We present that every May in New York, and about a half dozen or so of the universities from around the country send students. We showcase both BFA students and MFA students. Our new home is the Alvin Ailey Studios on 405 West 55th Street. We'll be in the 6th floor, Studio C and D. This will be Monday, May the 14th. 5 to 10 p.m. It's open and free to the public. So any of our Light Talk listeners who are in the greater New York area want to come by and see 25 or 30 portfolios, maybe have a cup of coffee or a drink on me, come on by the Alvin Ailey Studios and see Design Showcase East.
Yeah, it's an open bar, right, Steve?
It is an open bar.
Okay, you got that, guys? Free booze.
Open
You better
bar.
get your butts over, right? Get over there. Do you have a list of schools who are attending this year? Or am I putting you on the spot? Hopefully not.
You're putting me on the spot, but of course, California State University Long Beach, University of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music, Brooklyn College, University of Connecticut, North Carolina School for the Arts, and I'm kind of going blank right now. But there are, we have a good turnout. Usually about 200, 250 guests show up. It's very casual. It's a welcoming to New York and industry people coming by and seeing portfolios.
Well, I'm going to be there. As I told Steve, well, my students will be there, obviously, but I'm going to be there to see everyone. And I'm doing a quick in and out, as they say in New York, arriving at 5:30 in the morning, then leaving 5:30 the next morning. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So
Well, we've had students go in the past. This year, we had one student at the Helmsley portfolio, but nobody is attending this particular year. So, but we are participants when students want. We have students who want to go to New York. So yeah, if you want to go to New York, it's the thing to do.
Yeah, if you want to do the East Coast. But you know something, I must say something. Because my students know I'm a little peeved at them because I don't think you should say, if you want to go to New York, do the Showcase East. If you want to go to stay in LA, do the Showcase West. You're going to meet people at both of these
Sure.
places that work in both places. You know what I mean? So I don't think that's a hard fast rule.
It's about how much they can afford and how many things they can go to. Like my student had to pick between the Helmsley and the Showcase, and he just couldn't afford to do
Wait
both.
a second. You give your students $18,000 a year in free tuition, and they can't afford $400 to go to one of these things?
Well, I can't speak to how my students spend their money.
But I just think that when students don't take advantage of these networking opportunities by thinking, well, it's the only people from the East Coast are going to be here, and only people from the West Coast are going to be there. I think that's short-sighted. I really do, because who knows who's in town that week, and they're going to stop by. It could be an LA designer, and then all of a sudden you got a job in LA. Like when I went to New York for that portfolio review we talked about last week. There were New York designers there, but guess where I was hired to do shows in South America and in Miami. So I just think that we should go no matter what.
I have to also put in a plug here for UCLA. Design Showcase West. If you want to see someone who does it right,
Yep.
Design Showcase West, that is just an amazing event that UCLA has really put time and effort in over the years to turn into this monster event.
Agreed, and that is a great event. Anyway, so let's move on. Our last question, Steve has,
and we have a Stephen in Hungary, and he asks, why do Americans worry so much about the overall size of the light and not the quality of the output? So what if the better light is a little bit larger? Well, Stephen, I agree with you. For me, one of my favorite lights in the world is the Nithomer, made right there in up the road from you in Stuttgart, Germany. And it's a monster of a light. It's huge, but it's gorgeous output. I mean, it's a wonderful light. I think the thing about lights getting slightly smaller over the years is real estate in the theater is a very precious thing. So all of a sudden we're fighting for space with the set designer, the projection designer, there's audio going in the air. So a larger light, we just can't fit as many lights on the pipe. Certainly, we don't have a problem with larger lights when it comes to a moving light. They're already larger than a conventional fixture. So I don't know. What do you guys think about this question?
I think that it has also a lot to do with the weight. It has to do with the size of the light and crate and how many lights you could put in a truck. There are a lot of things that's there for. I mean, there's this terrific documentary on the Red Hot Chili Peppers tour last year, and the lighting designers actually talking about this, about the type of lights they use and how they've cut down on the rig, and the lights more efficient, and it allows them to do fewer trucks basically and have quicker load-ins and quicker load-outs. Normally, I don't think about it. But boy, if you have like what Steve was saying, if you have a tight hang and a tight rig up there, with drops, a couple of line sets away, you're not going to use a best boy up there. You're going to use something small because you're going to have to. You don't have a choice because you only have so many line sets.
Well, if you go back and you look, take a look at Martin, Elation, High End, Robe, Verilight. Everybody's in that battle right now to make a small, compact, high-output light that's going to work on Broadway, that's going to work in the cruise boat industry. Everybody is shrinking their light down because, again, I'm going to go back to real estate. And David's right, weight. Ceilings only hold so much.
Yeah, I get that every year at Central City because, that theater was built in 1858 or something like that. And and I think the rigging is from 1858 too. But, it's like, you want us to hang how many lights on this thing? How many Vera lights are hanging on this pipe? It's like, I don't think so. And you always have to switch them out. You're going to have to say, okay, we're going to hang the movers on line set 4 and we're going to hang the conventionals on line set 5 or something like that. Stan, what do you think?
Yeah, I'll come at it from a different perspective. I think you guys covered the production side of it pretty well. So, something that's on my mind right now, we're entering into a renovation project. So this is from the theater consulting perspective. And I was crawling around the ceiling of this building the other day. It's going to be a sort of a multi-purpose space, and it's sort of built like a metal building. There's not a lot of good steel in this space. I'm going to have to put a better front light position in. The catwalk or the front light position right now does not have a safe way to access it. And I'm thinking about how am I going to handle this? And the entire project is about $2.5 million. That's for everybody, all the way from seats to interior to HVAC. So how much am I going to see of that budget pie? And do I start asking for steel structure to support lighting, and how big is the steel, and so what am I asking of the structural engineer to supplement the building? So this sort of plays into the equation. How many lights do I need? How heavy are they? How big are they? How do we access them? So in a sense, if manufacturers are moving in the way that you described, David, that they're getting smaller and lighter and brighter, that's helps me reduce the overall cost and the overall piece of the pie that I have to ask for to make structural changes in this renovation. So in terms of quality of light, well, I would never want to sacrifice, depending upon the venue. In this venue, we want good quality of light. I really don't want to sacrifice that. But weight and size will, as I'm looking across the industry for products that serve the programmatic goals, that's going to be a factor. In fact, I'll give another example. When we were looking at this work we did at the Smithsonian 2 years ago with Scott, we needed an LED color changing fixture, and we looked then at the Solar line for that installation but they were just too big and too heavy for that particular installation, even though the quality of light is exactly what we would have loved to have had. So we did something else. So I think it's a complex matrix. I don't think it's inherently linked to Americans per se. I think it's just in a design process what you need and what's available and what the trade-offs are.
It's interesting that you mentioned the solar fixtures, because I was just going to mention this, and this has to do with the technology sort of battling the design. With LED fixtures, cooling is absolutely essential. And, we look at these fixtures and they're gigantic. I mean, they're very large compared to like, a lot of arc fixtures, like even the Viper. And the solar theater is it's larger because it has this big cooling dam.
Absolutely. It's larger and heavier. Yeah.
It's heavier. It's like over 100 pounds, right?
Is. My students are going to the gym this summer so they can lift them in the fall.
I was talking to an engineer at ETC the other day about this because we were talking about the challenges of developing an outdoor weatherproof fixture. And there, it's a big challenge for LED lights because, the cooling systems are so sophisticated and the light has to be sealed, to protect against water. It's kind of tricky. At this year's LDI, there are going to be a lot of outdoor fixtures debuting. But it's going to be interesting to see how they accomplish this and still get a light that's 20 to 30,000 lumens.
Still hard to get light without heat.
Yep. But magic does occur every now and then. Hey guys, guess what time it is?
It's that Hammond organ solo.
It's that Hammond organ solo played by yours truly, and it tells us that once again you've spent a precious 40 minutes of your life listening to Light Talk. Hey, you can listen to Light Talk every week on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, Spotify, and just about every other web host that you can find. And don't forget to join Light Talk on Facebook so that you can post your questions and comments.
No guarantee is offered regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on this podcast.
In other words, don't burn down that theater.
Light Talk is written and produced by the Lumen Brothers, coming to you from Long Beach, Gainesville, and the Lone Star State.
And be sure to tune in next week when we discuss, what do you look for when you read a resume? Is it possible to use a gobo in a follow spot? Suggestions for a beginning lighting designer, and how do I get funding to convert to LED?
All of that, and somebody's going to come up with a new sponsor. Light Talk, broadcasting questionable lumen knowledge and humor around the globe.
So we'll see you all next Saturday morning. Bye-bye from Light Talk.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Light Talk.